Hello and welcome to another episode of Words of Wisdom. This week we're joined by Sachin Ravi and Raghav Chakravarti, the co-founders of Wallet Knowledge Solutions. Wallet Knowledge Solutions is a Bangalore-based company that uses quizzing to share stories with students. Wallet Knowledge Solutions, over the years, has earned many accolades, including a Limca Book of World Record. Wallet Knowledge Solutions.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, I think that's about it. Varsha, do you have any more questions?
Is there anything like you guys have been doing a lot of interviews nowadays? I saw a little, and so is there anything that you want to say that has not been asked, or anything different that you just want to tell us or tell the people who are watching?
Right. So I have a question for you guys. Yeah. Um, you know, um, Tell me about one or two things that you think quizzing does to you. Yeah, I would like to hear that. Right. And because that's one. And if you were to reflect back in college and look at, hey, I wish I was taught this in school, what would they be? Right. So two questions. Both of you and even Giant can take a stab at it. But I would like to hear from you guys. Right. In fact, let's leave with a question of trying to understand that. What is quizzing meant to you guys?
Varsha, why don't you take this?
Quizzing something that's randomly I picked up because Kumarins, as I studied, they actually started teaching us how to quiz. They bought in this company, which name I forgot. They started like on Saturdays, they formed a quiz club. They started telling us like how do you understand a question, how do you break it down, how do you approach it. So that I was really happy that I went for like a trial class and then I like properly got in. Like I became super curious. So that's always been that. And then our quiz club thing is pretty active. We always have someone randomly throwing in a question and you're like, wait, I cannot believe that actually happened. Something from history, something from like a quirk from around the world. It's always interesting to know something like that.
Got it.
Yeah, actually, I'd like even Jay to answer this since he's here. So, Jay, why don't you also answer this one?
Right. So, I mean, I've been into quizzing way back when, since fourth, fifth grade. Back in school, like everybody had to have this talent, like where I come from. So, I tried my hand at a lot of things, and quizzing was the one thing that stuck, I guess. And my big moment was probably when I went on this like national quiz on safety on NDTV.
NSSQ, is
So,
it?
yeah, NSSQ, yeah, came runners up for 2 years in a row, and then they said, no, you can't take part again because we don't want winners coming back to win. So yeah, I think even before that, like back in 11th grade, all schools have this culturals thing, and so to get that was one free day, right? You could like just get out of school, hang out in a different school, and I was in an all boys school, so that was the one way you could meet chicks and all that kind of stuff. So to get out, you needed to take part in at least one event, and quiz was the event that stuck for me. And eventually there came a point where I went more for the quiz and less for the chicks.
Fascinating.
Right. So for me, I think it has been so. What I have come to learn is there's much more to quizzing than what it was back in school. Only the academically strong students were picked up to participate in quizzes. Now that has changed, fortunately, and you get to explore a lot more, which you otherwise don't explore in schools. About music and arts, and maybe a little more into literature and all of that. So that is something quizzing has taught me. And of course, there's always teamwork, which quizzing teaches you. And I think these are the two most important things that quizzing has taught me. There are quite a lot of things that quizzing has taught me, but I think these two stand right up there.
Got it. Yeah. But what do you wish schools, you learned something in school today in college when you stay, I wish I learned this in school.
Probably like the usual flaw of the system, like they never taught me to do my finances.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of practical skills are still missing from school education, so that's probably it.
Got it. How about Varsha and Ayush?
This thing about like school, you always feel like your teachers will be like, "Acha, fine, once you do something wrong, you're not going to be selected to do the same thing again." They'll move on to another kid, but they won't come back to you and tell you where you went wrong. A lot of schools do that, according to me. They just don't like tell the kid, "Acha, fine, see, listen, I'll help you. This is where you went wrong. I will teach you. It'll give you another opportunity." They just move on to the next good kid they find.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Feedback, right? Reflection on what went right, what went wrong. How many times have our papers been discussed as to what was right or wrong, etc. Right? Yeah. Great. Thank you for that. Ayush?
I think my answer is the same as Jay's. The real life practical stuff. School usually gives lesser importance to all of those things. It is more theoretical, and which are not really helpful on a day to day basis. So I think it's more or less the same as Jay's answer. They don't
So
really talk
wish
about the
you had
practical.
more input on
Yeah,
uh,
yes,
how to manage your finances, how to have a conversation with people. I don't know. Those
Yeah,
things.
maybe.
not
Yeah.
The
not real
conversation
life
part
skills.
applies more in particular because, like, I was in an all boys school. So for the longest time, I had no idea how to even interact with the opposite sex, much less make conversation. So yeah, I think that's something that definitely has to go. I mean, my brother's still in the same school, and it's still all boys. So I don't know.
Uh,
Not a lot of real life skills are given importance. They're like, "No, you have to study first, the rest will come later." But by the time the rest comes, you're like, "Oops, I don't know how to do any of this."
Any
There's no
list one
like
or two,
equal balance.
Varsha? Like, I mean, because so one is to have a conversation, one is finances. In your ways, like in your day to day life, you feel a sense of inadequacy of, hey, I wish I was thought about this.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can reflect on it.
It,
See, because I mean, we're trying to also kind of reflect on what are the few things that we wish schools really focused on, right? Which makes you foundationally confident about a lot of things,
yeah.
right? So, just curious, yeah. Ayush?
Again, I've never really, or maybe I've encountered this problem, but never gone back and said, okay, maybe my school would have taught, or maybe school would have taught us this or something. This I never really thought about this, right? Though I've encountered such problems, maybe. So I'm really I need to think a lot on this.
Okay. So you guys are free to like write me a mail with your thoughts, right? Because I mean, one of the things that we in QShar are kind of building courses for, or even interventions or learning experiences, is to really look at what is that gap that probably we could fill. Because see, schools. The unfortunate thing is, I remember going to my geography teacher, Suman ma'am, and she was in St. Paul's, and now she's in Kumurans. And when I went to ma'am, and she said, Raghav, the biggest problem is many times we're just forced to teach to get marks, right? And not really develop their thinking and appreciation for something, right? And you know what? We're restricted because the regime is that ultimately that also matters, right? Like, I mean, because you have to get good grades in order to get better, whatever, PUC and whatnot. And that's like a big bottleneck, right? Like appreciation of, hey, for me, geography really made me mouthwater about places to go to, right? Like in ICSE, we used to, every continent was discussed from 7th, 8th, etc. Cultures, different things, right? But of course, that was the teacher who weaved these stories to make it more interesting. But she was saying how Marx becomes the benchmark or restrict you from really having these open experiences, and also vulnerabilities, right? Like, yeah, so you can't be the best in everything, yeah, right? And you have a learning curve of failing, growing, looking back, no finality. So anyway, uh, thanks guys for that. And I think that's my closure of this one. So just from a quizzing perspective, I think what I can say is that I call it my mother. In many ways, it's taught me a lot, and it continues to teach me, keep me grounded, keep us grounded in many ways. And also, right, like, you need to be a lifelong learner. And when you look at what makes you a lifelong learner, and deliberate over that aspect, I think foundationally curiosity, the ability to ask questions, having a sense of wonder about the person, about a place, or about a idea is very important. And I think quizzing as a tool, as a hobby, really enables that. And that's my take on how quizzing has been a very central aspect of my life. Sachin?
I mean, yeah, I resonate with that as well. I think so. I studied in a school. I think I resonate with Jayant as well. So I studied in a school which had a lot of incredible people around me, and I think the peer group that one has around himself or herself really plays a role in terms of how you kind of shape yourself as well. So because there were a lot of people who one was great at dancing, one was great at dramatics, one was great at say at sport. So I happen to fill that quizzing sort of that token quizzing person who's representing university school for competitions, etc. So I think quizzing has been that consistent sort of companion for me that just kind of lightened my entire kind of experience of schooling, because just for knowing something and and just getting rewarded for it, I think is just an incredible feeling. Like you just read something and next thing you know that it's opened you into a different space narrative. So yeah, that's really been my kind of relationship with quizzing. It's been a companion for my life and for growth so far going forward as well.
Okay, I think that's about it. Jay, do you have any questions, Jay? Do you have any questions for them?
No, don't think so. I think
Varsha, anything?
No.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll end with this one story for you guys. Right?
Yeah.
So this is what happened. I, had to get some documentation done. This is an inheritance certificate for my family and things like that from the tehsildar office, right? So it required one of the officers of the tehsildar office to actually come and do some verification at home. There's this one officer who had come, and this person, said, like, of course, after he got the job done, I paid what was mandatorily required by law to pay, and then he's like, sir, to get this sooner, he asked me for a bribe, right? Like, so I was so tired with working with these people, so I was like, okay, I gave him $2,000 and I said, sir, you should let me know so that I can get it. And he said, can you drop me back to the tehsildar office? I was like, oh shit. And this also, I took him on the bike and I was going. So then on the bike he was there and I'm saying, sir, what do you do? So I said, I did law to not to not give bribes and to fight for all this. And look at me, I'm giving you a bribe. And then I told him that, we work with Prajavani Quiz Championship and we conduct these Prajavani Quiz Championship and all that. And suddenly, he tapped me from the back. It's like, and I see that 2,000 rupee note from the top. It's like, what? What is happening? So, I said, sir, yen kodtidira? Nanage yen kodtidira? So, and he was like, sir, you Prajavani Quiz Championship alla antira, you journalist. So, and he gave it back. So, for me, a quiz and the fact that we had done this property got him to say, sir, I don't want bribe from you because you work with journalists. So for me, that was like a highlight. As a lawyer, I could not get him to, not take a bribe, but the fact that I could conduct a quiz and that made him like, hey, let me not mess with you kind of a thing was a fond memory. Yeah, so that's a story for one.
Sachin said anything on those lines? Do you have anything on those lines? Maybe not bribery or anything, but something.
Don't really remember. Yeah, I think
for Sachin, it's food. Yeah, I think we traveled like mad. We ate like mad. We explored places. For us, even the Swedish Nobel Memorial Quiz was one thing, right? Like having to go to Sweden because we won a quiz was just. We stayed in the prince's bungalows and all that. Like it was.
Wow.
Easy. Yeah, it was a superb experience.
I think that 1 week was just an incredible time because we did not open the wallet. Whatever little money the wallet had didn't matter because everything was taken care of. It was just an incredible experience and I think an appreciation for a country. So I think a fascination to know more about a country that came from quizzing, I think is something I relate to fondly. But otherwise, Quizzing wise, stories like this, I think doing quizzes at weddings, that was quite, that was something
Wow.
that, that was something that I think we were quite proud of. We were quite excited about that we were able to do it. So we did a quiz. So I have a really close friend of mine who was getting married. This was, I think, 2 years back, if I'm not wrong. And so she was like, "Hey, listen, why don't you do a quiz at my Sangeet and for all the people?" So that was something that we did. And again, we like to believe that we were probably among the first few people to do a quiz at the wedding. So that's a fond memory. And then I went ahead and did one more for my cousin in the US last year. So and that was in the US. So so we probably think that we're the first ones to conduct a quiz at a wedding in the US as well. Of course, this isn't any record or anything of the sort, but those are some pretty cool memories if you go back and think of all the things that we've done. Offhand, I can't think of something as explosive as a film plot like a person giving back a bribe. But yeah, I think it's been a privilege. Yeah.
Any other hobby that you like as much as quizzing?
For me, I don't know if it's a hobby. So I follow football passionately. So for me, following a sport has been some sort of sport. I think again that stems from quizzing as well. Following a sport, playing a little bit of poker every now and then. Watching a lot of food videos. Yeah,
That's a
a lot
nice
of.
food also. You should ask him for one like home meal.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not as good as some of the other people. So again, cooking food is a genuine interest for me in terms of learning more about it, learning about cuisine, subtleties, and dishes. Usually, almost always watching food videos on YouTube. If you see my recommended list, it's mostly filled with different channels of food. So I watch much more than I cook, but not as much as I eat. But so yeah, that's really the kind of maybe passions or hobby. And reading, of course, that's still something that doing a lot more of late, as opposed to it dropped off significantly. But reading is something that I've started doing a lot more. Raghav as well probably does it a lot more now, but tending towards the nonfiction side on how we can kind of do a better job at what we do is really what kind of keeps my time going. Watching stuff on Netflix and whatever else, I think that everybody does. Whatever fix or dosage of whatever is really interesting, I make sure that I catch that as well. So that's really how time is kind of spread apart from work.
So
I think that's about it.
Cool, guys. So what's
Thank you so
the so what's the context of this? So you guys do this weekly. You guys have so you can tell me a bit about the context of this.
So Jayant came up with this idea, and he said, "Why not? All of us are at home, and we cannot step out. So why not interview famous people in the quizzing circuit and ask them a little or two about their journey and how it's been so far and all of that. And if they have any fun stuff to tell, like how Raghav sir told, so something on those lines. And we started off with Arul Mani. To be frank, it was quite scary to start off with money directly. I mean, because his life has been he's seen KQA grow from, let's say, an infant to where it is today. So right, so it has been. So we wanted to know that, and it went on. We interviewed quite a lot of people in different this one. So that's the whole idea behind this.
So this is on YouTube. We can go ahead and pick it up on YouTube
Going
and
to
find
be
it.
on YouTube soon.
Super, guys.
Alright.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you so much
for
for
being here.
taking time for us.